Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, the Love Gov may be in hot water. Also, the V team takes a look at what's on the agenda. And Medicaid is under the gun. Yeah, and we're going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V team. Welcome all.
Glad to be here.
Hello.
The groundhog saw his shadow. We will have 6 more months of questionable legislation.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. We've been in budget hearings, trying to get a handle on the budget, trying to get an idea of the policies. Stephanie Azar, the commissioner over Medicaid, said she needs another 45 or 44 million on top of the 105 million they got last year. And we were able to report, Chip, that we discovered, and we have Ms. Azar's words on it, that last year when they cut the docs, they actually had the money on hand to pay them, and it looked to me like a manufactured crisis.
Yeah, from the way we understand it, is that they cut that $15 million bump to primary care physicians, and she wanted to do that so she could save money. And it caused a crisis because doctors came pouring into Montgomery to try to get that funding back, so that made the legislature have to give them the money that they asked for last year, the $85 million that they asked for. So,
I mean, Susan, we're hearing from physicians that they did not know this, and they are angry because many of them lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars.
Yes, they did, because they were cut back. They weren't completely cut off, but they cut them back to something like 20% of what they were being paid. And what they didn't do was, when they got the funding, was reimburse them. And they went for like 2 months with not getting the funding they were supposed to. So, I mean, they lost millions of dollars.
Yeah,
and personnel, they had to lay off personnel.
The governor and Azar admitted at the meeting where they announced that they were going to reinstate the bumps, that they knew that doctors had lost a bunch of money and had to lay off staff. So,
well, think about the fact 1 in 3 children in the state of Alabama is on Medicaid. And so if you look at a rural pediatrician or a rural OBGYN, you know, they rely on these funding mechanisms to sustain their practice. So if all of a sudden you cut down to 20% of what they're expecting to get in their budget, that's disastrous to what they're planning to do.
The thing, and the other thing that bothers me is that they use this as a lobbying tool to bludgeon the legislature. This is dishonest lobbying, Susan.
It is. They used it. We were there. We went through the whole process where they were saying, well, the children are not going to get care. The pediatricians are going to have to close their offices if we don't get this funding for the RCOs.
Right.
So that's what they were using to get this money, to get them to take first 85 million, then 105 from the VP money, I believe it came from, to fix the hole.
Yeah, we don't even know if we're ever going to get the RCOs, because it was supposed to go into effect last October, then they moved it back to July, and now it's October of this year. So we don't know if we're ever going to get it. They just keep spending millions more dollars on it.
And Beth, well, you know, the CEO of Children's Hospital, one of the nation's largest providers for children, has said, as they currently stand, the RCOs will not work.
Right, because for the RCOs, it's a risk-shifting mechanism. And so if the state doesn't have the money, why would any private company take on the risk of sustaining Medicaid in the state? You've got to fully fund it first, and unfortunately, things are rocky at the federal level right now. We have to do what we need to do on the state level to protect our people.
And they've already had 2 RCOs back out. They had UAB back out and the University of South Alabama back out. And Mac McCutcheon said last week that they had been in talks to get new RCO providers for those areas, but who knows?
Well, there's one company out there that's looking to move in, and we hear they have close ties to the Riley machine. Is that shocking?
That'll end well.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of stuff. Well, also at the budget hearings this week, we learned that ALEA, the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, is they need $60 million more, Beth.
Yeah, that's going to be cute. I mean, remember, between state and federal funding, we're looking at around about $150 million.
Right.
But this is when the governor said that he saved $1 billion. What he did was he combined a bunch of state agencies into one big bureaucracy. And surprise, it really doesn't save money to make more government. It really just doesn't. Then you got Stan Stabler leading it, and who knows if he's qualified or what he's doing.
Do we have a Democrat at this table talking about big government?
Dude, I don't know what this Republican's doing right now.
These guys are about as Republican as my dog. I mean, they've got about it.
Don't
I mean,
talk about Lucy that way.
I mean, Lucy is, she's an omnivore. She doesn't really care who scratches her, and that's kind of like these guys.
Yeah.
They'll eat anything, and they don't care who pets them as long as there's money involved.
I mean, to create this big agency, I mean, they have the forest rangers under ALEA, for Pete's sake. Who thought this was a good idea?
Governor Robert Bentley.
Yeah,
He
I
thought it was
know.
a good
And what
idea.
exactly are they saying that they need more money for?
Well, I don't know.
Covering up text messages, of course.
Maybe it's to more cover up on what they did to Spencer Collier, but I'm just guessing here.
Or maybe they're
You know,
trying to
the
institute
thing
E-Start
is,
again?
They always knew they were going to need more money. This is not any news to anyone. It's just, where is it going to come from? You can't borrow it. You can't borrow this money. You certainly can't tax people.
But hello, every agency needs more money right now.
Right.
That's the cut that we've gotten to in this budget because nobody wants to make the hard decisions.
Well, it's just, now Leah is in a particularly unique position because they have so much on the governor. It's too bad they don't have a bunch on the legislature. They might be able to get somewhere with that. Former Speaker Mike Hubbard, I like to call him current felon.
Emphasis on the former.
Current felon Mike Hubbard, awaiting his time in jail in county or in state prison, has been granted another extension. Susan, this is because of normal things that happen.
Totally
right?
normal. It's the court reporter once again going to Judge Walker and saying, I need more time. And I believe that Chip did the story on this, where they're understaffed. They only have a limited amount of people that can work on a criminal case of this magnitude. So she's asked one more time to extend it to March the 1st.
Right, and this is really the court reporter, not Mike Hubbard, but that has to come through them.
Well, and remember, too, that sometimes the record in cases like this can be thousands of pages just for a regular murder
this
trial.
One is, over 500 and something different motions,
Yeah.
and those
Right.
motions can be dozens of pages.
And they did that on purpose.
Yeah, she said it was going to be, quote, voluminous, so
Yeah.
it's going to be quite large, and
Yeah.
that's understandable that it takes that long.
Well, it is. Most of us really hate to see Mike Hubbard still walk in the streets. But where you never hear his name anymore?
Goat Hill.
The State House.
That's right. Nobody's talking about Mike.
Hey, I haven't forgotten who else stood up at that pep rally, though.
No, I haven't either.
And, we never, what's the thing? Never forget. Well, it's interesting. A lot of people have changed their spots. We'll see how they hold out. And look, listen, people have a right to be wrong. And they were wrong. We were right. All right, we're going to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back with more news and analysis.
Azia Medical Spa offers a relaxing experience using customized skincare treatments and full line of physician-grade products with professionals that can assist you in determining which treatment options will best help you achieve your desired results. Azia's massage therapies are popular for rejuvenation and relaxation, as well as relief of tired, aching, and sore muscles. Voted the best medical spa in Birmingham for 3 years in a row, visit aziamedicalspa.com to schedule your appointment.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Welcome, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Thank you. Glad to be here, guys.
And a new set of glasses again.
Well, you know, I found these in the bottom of a drawer.
It's amazing what you can find in drawers.
I just want my friend Ricardo to take note of these.
Ricky?
Yeah, sort of.
Ricky, okay. Jack, I'm trying to have some levity here. You're not leviting with me.
Well, I'm very sorry.
Levitate, Jack.
Have you seen
this
how much
chair, you
there is
could
to levitate? Good God.
Bring in the sky crane. Okay, anyway.
Ooh, that was over the top.
That was. They always are over the top, Jack. That's why they're up there. Anyway, seriously, it's good to have you, Jack.
Thanks.
Bentley wants to build almost $1 billion in prisons. He finally sat down and Rebecca let him watch Oz, Jack, and he saw those cool prisons and he's like, I want some of those. So we want to spend almost $1 billion so Bentley can have his Oz. What do you think?
I don't mind spending $1 billion on new prisons, but I would like for it to be an open process where the citizens know who's bidding on what. However, there's a rumor already out there that this is going to be another $800 million project that they're going to try to ram through without letting anybody bid on this. I think it's all been predetermined, and I think it's rife for corruption.
Well, what they're doing is terming it design build, which is basically hand me a check and then I'll decide who gets paid or who does this. So there is no bid process here. There is no transparency for people to see what they're actually planning on doing.
And this is a big thing. They brought it into most every state, and that is to break the back of the state bid law so that it opens the door for cronyism, right, Beth? I mean, what else could it be?
It does, and we've seen this bill come through a few different times with the design build thing, and you know, it's just, it needs to be an open bidding process. And I think the Southern Poverty Law Center is right in that we can build all the prisons we want, but the problems we're having right now deal with the lack of mental health, the lack of guards in the prisons. And if we keep building new prisons, you know, they're saying they're going to do this high-tech thing where they've got all these like sections they can block off. Like, well, that worked on the Titanic, so let's see if it works in our prisons. No, like we need guards who are well-trained. We need doctors and we need mental health counselors in our prisons.
Remember that now maybe this design, I mean not design bill, but the prison, building new prisons does cover one issue, and that's Americans with Disabilities Act. Okay, it'll address that. But as far as like Beth said, with mental health and all of that, it doesn't address any of that. And we're spending $800 million plus to get 3,000 new beds.
Right.
3,000.
And I spoke with Richard Cohen from the Southern Poverty Law Center, and he said, look, new prisons do not address the issue. And they keep using that, Jack, to push it forward to get that money, saying that Judge Myron Thompson's going to take over the state prisons. He doesn't want the state prisons.
Well, eventually the feds will come in and take over the prisons. Yeah. So,
but they've been threatening it for years.
But, you know, I have a problem with the Southern Poverty Law Center weighing in on this. They need to stick to judicial matters to make sure that people get fair trials, particularly minorities, and that's what their original charter was. But
this is an Eighth Amendment issue that we're dealing with right now. I mean, this is a cruel and unusual punishment. It is, do you have access to your constitutionally required
Well,
care when you're in the care of the state.
And Jack's right. When you're dealing with a Republican legislature, it doesn't help to have the Southern Poverty Law Center on your side.
No, really, that doesn't make them want to rush the matter through. But like the last session where they had the bill up and it almost passed, and then I think Mike Hubbard killed it because it probably didn't take care of his buddies. But you see architects and engineers at the State House that you don't normally see over there. That tells you one thing. It's already been predetermined who's going to do the work.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And I think that
Absolutely.
is really smelly.
Absolutely, and from what we hear, there's some mud cricket in the background
There always
that might
is.
be getting paid, or at least might have a promise of getting paid. Jack, you're twerping.
Oh,
You're not. Is that what the...
It was the mud cricket.
Oh,
It was her head spinning off its socket again this week.
yeah, okay. Speaking of which, the LoveGov seems to be in some hot water because he spent campaign funds on Rebecca Caldwell Mason, legal fees, and I don't want to beat that one to death, but it seems like a pretty significant.
Yeah, there were $8,900 that were spent out of his campaign funds. It was reported on his campaign finance. That doesn't exactly fit within the boundaries of an expense that he
But
can
he
use.
also paid RCM some amount of money too, didn't he?
$37,000.
And she's resigned and she's not around anymore. And
Yeah, that was
she's
in
getting
April after she left in March.
Yeah, I mean,
I believe.
listen, anybody that thinks that Rebecca Mason has gone anywhere out of the governor's life doesn't know what they're talking about.
Is
We
she
hear
still
she's
parking
there all
at the Huddle House or wherever it was?
I don't know where she's parking these days. I do want to say, I want to shift gears here. Back to the prison thing. I got a call, 2 calls, that said that the commissioner, Jeff Dunn, would like to sit down with me and Susan. Well, he still hasn't called. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe I was supposed to go over there. Nah, I don't get those things wrong. Supposed to call. But one of the things I think we're proudest of this week is Selma, a place that is known for its racial division, has a new mayor, Dario Melton, great guy, and it also, Beth, has a new chief of police.
They do, and I do have to admit, I've got a dog in the fight. I've worked with now Mayor Melton since his freshman year in the legislature. But, we were sitting around trying to figure out who was going to be the new police chief, and I said, I have an idea. Let's call Spencer. Surely he doesn't want to come to Selma, but he'll know somebody who does. And lo and behold, he decided to come to Selma. So we are just tickled pink to have him, and I know that the two of them together can do great things.
They're going to be a great pair. I just have high hopes for what they can get
Both
done.
young men, Jack. One's a black Democrat who's the mayor, and you've got a white Republican police chief in a city that is known and marked by total
Yeah, well,
racism.
they both served in the legislature. They
Right. They
did.
served
30
together.
days together.
They're longtime friends. Dario is a jam-up guy. I know he's do a great job for Selma. And Spencer is one of my true dear friends, and I wish him well, and I'm really happy that they made that appointment.
Well, yeah, and it was great, Beth, and we were very excited to see that. And I mean, Spencer still got his case before his civil suit. I really think there should be a criminal case the way they destroyed his career and named him. But listen, there's always second chances in Alabama. We're good people. And Dario did a great job in bringing him on board. We've got just a few more seconds here. I do want to say that this thing with Bentley does look like it might have legs. We'll have to see where it goes in the...
The Montgomery Advertiser accused him of committing a felony.
Yeah.
Good WSFA.
I'm just not sure on all that.
I think it's a
I
bunch of
haven't seen
nitpicking.
it.
I really do.
Well, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
I'm John Merrill. When I became your Secretary of State in January 2015, we made a commitment to ensure that every eligible U.S. citizen that's a resident of our state is registered to vote and has a photo ID. Since that time, we've registered more than 600,000 new voters. And on November the 8th, we saw you at the polls. more than 2.1 million people, a record for our state, participated in the process. Now let's work together and let's make Alabama be the best that it can be.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Chip, you did a story this past week on Chief Justice Moore. They filed what amounts to the last brief. He is trying to get his suspension overturned. What did you find?
So he filed a 50-page reply brief, which is his second brief, and it'll be the last one. So now the case is going to go to oral arguments, and that should be sometime in the next couple of months or later this year. And the brief said the same thing that he said before, that he thinks that JIC and the COJ didn't have the authority to review that administrative order, which the JIC accused him of ordering the state's probate judges to ignore the federal Supreme Court and ignore federal law. So that's what they're accusing, and he's saying that they didn't have the authority to determine whether or not that was relevant.
Well, and I tend to agree with Judge Moore on that. There's a lot of people who want to offend Judge Moore, but I think he's absolutely right. I think there's something wrong in this whole deal, but we're going to let the court straighten it out.
Now, you say you think he's right. You don't necessarily think he's right for ordering probate judges to...
No. I think he's right in that the JIC and the
Court of the Judiciary
did not have a right to review it. Because remember, he defied a federal court order, not a state court order. And the federal judge did nothing.
Right. They never entered into the case at any point. So if it's defying federal law, then they should have. They should have
done it. Again, your favorite folks over at the Southern Poverty Law Center brought this thing. Look, should Moore have done what he did? That's already a moot point. Probably not. Should have just left it alone. But this is something about justice. They're removing the Supreme Court justice.
Yeah, I don't think they treated him fairly, but let's say this again. Had he not done what he did in the first place, he didn't learn a lesson from the last time they kicked him off the bench for putting the Ten Commandments monument in the federal court building. In the state court building.
He essentially did the same thing. He defied a federal court order.
Right.
But at that time, the federal, anyway.
But that's going to get your butt in hot water every time.
But I think they had a reason. They want to pick him off.
I don't disagree with that.
It's sort of like, the people voted for him. He may not have done something they liked, but the federal government didn't do anything.
But here's the point. It's not, at this level, what we're talking about is not what he did. It's opening a door for this to happen in the future on a totally different subject.
I understand.
I'm worried about precedent here.
I think you're right. If we took Moore out of the equation, I think then we would have a different, maybe a different idea.
And then, of course, the court system, which is pretty much broke, like every agency in Alabama, they send Lynn Stewart over there to the legislature with her dog and pony show to ask for more money after she's pretty much treated Moore like dirt.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of fans over there.
He sure does.
I believe that dog won't hunt, Jack.
They should have sent another dog over there.
Well, 2 dogs are better than none, I guess.
Well, yeah.
I guess, I don't know. Anyway, Moore's got appeal over there. There are a lot of people that are upset at what's happened. But there's so much, Susan, on the plate. We've got RCOs, we've got prisons, we've got the ethics laws, we've got just tons of things that need to be handled, and on top of all that, we're broke.
And everybody needs more money. And all these budget hearings, everybody needs more money. And I think we've probably gotten to a point where we've cut so much that the people are beginning to feel the cuts now. And feel that maybe we've cut back a little too far. I don't know. But I tell you, this legislative session is going to be jam-packed full.
It's kind of make or break, actually.
It really is, because it's the last legislative session before before they go into the election cycle. So they're desperate to get things done. But the Republican caucus while it sounds nice to the base, they put out their priority, their agenda. I mean, Chip, it was not, it wasn't anything new, was it?
They included stuff about the prisons. They included some things about, raising teachers' pays, I think, and stuff like that. But they included 3 really controversial subjects in there too: abortion, immigration, and Confederate monuments. And trying to
That's not necessarily. What would you call them? Controversial?
No,
not Alabama.
I mean, that's right up there.
No, but they're wasting valuable time voting to make Alabama an anti-abortion state. Duh.
Yeah, they want to pass an amendment to say that Alabama is a pro-life state.
Well, and the thing is, it is a pro-life state. Look at the voters.
Just like it was a right to work state before they passed that amendment saying that it's a right to work state.
They got to pander to the base.
They waste more time on stuff like the state pie and the state cake and the state donut and whatever.
And state crustacean, I believe.
I mean, really, come on.
It's Groundhog Day all over again. This is the same agenda that come out every year. There's nothing different.
Well, but I think sometimes they put that up over here.
They do.
So that they can do the other thing over here.
Oh, yeah.
And listen, I think there's some important things that have to be done. I think the most important test for Speaker McCutcheon is going to be this ethics reform, any tightening or loosening. I mean, that's going to be the big deal, isn't it, Chip?
I think so. I mean, those are the ethics laws that put away Mike Hubbard.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people are concerned that they might be coming after them, so they want to loosen those ethics laws up a little bit and interpret ethics commission opinions differently and that kind of stuff.
Well, I think Mac McCutcheon's going to have to reel these kooks in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look, guys, we're not going to waste time on the things that don't matter. And saying that Alabama is officially a pro-life state is ridiculous. We don't have time for that.
A pro-life day during the legislative session is also in their agenda.
Those people are going to come down here anyway.
Well,
okay.
It's not that we aren't pro-life.
I know
it's that we don't need to waste valuable time. We're broke, and we can't even find out if there's going to be a gaming bill. I mean, good Lord.
But they also want to spend time telling Democratic cities in Alabama what they can and can't do, because also part of their agenda was immigration, saying that they won't give funding to sanctuary cities, and telling cities whether or not they can take down their Confederate monuments.
Well, and that the Constitution is set up in Alabama that they can do that.
They can.
But what I'm saying, I would like to spend a minute or two thinking the one solution to a lot of our problems is letting the people vote on gaming. Jack, isn't it a Republican idea that we let people vote?
The new finance chairman for the Republican National Committee owns casinos. So this idea the Republicans are anti-gambling is some kind of new phenomenon, and I've been in the party 40 years. I've never even heard it uttered. We need either a lottery and or gaming, and not just let the Indians keep contributing to the legislature and then it falls on deaf
Without
ears.
being taxed, without the state getting anything out of it, we're broke, like Bill says. We need this money. Look, I mean, if we want our RCOs, here's a great way to get it. If we want to fix prisons, here's a great way to get it.
You talk to legislators, and they don't want to pass a lottery if it's not for education.
Well, and that's a discussion for another day. We're going to have to leave it right there.
Yeah, don't bring that up.
You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.